Hello everybody, this is Frogman. Welcome back to Satisfactory. Last episode we got some big things going and we're going to get to start using those big things hopefully fairly soon, namely those turbo motors and the cooling units and a couple other things. In between episodes I did a fair amount of work. Once again, I got bored and I decided I got really kind of tired of some of the belt mess that was existing over there, so I kind of cleaned it up a little bit. And then I plugged in some awesome sinks so we can kind of start cranking out stuff with the factory once again to kind of produce some things. So over here we can take a minute at this point in time. We're doing right around, well, we were doing around here. I'd kind of turned some stuff off for a couple of seconds, but we're kind of kicking right around 1,000,000 points per minute, anywhere between 4.5 and 5 and 6 and 7. It kind of bounces all over the place. I had just turned the system back on right here because I had to remove some parts because we're going to turn in some parts today, so that we can unlock the last tier of usable stuff in the, well, the second to last tier. One of the other things we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and unlock the particle enrichment today once we get done doing a few other things, and then we're going to start talking about what we're going to do towards working towards the end game kind of thing, or at least the end game that I wanted to play with today. So again, we're gonna let this settle back out. This should get a little better. I had to turn a few things off for just a little bit because my dummy forgot to put things like this into a box before we started trying to do some stuff today. So we're gonna watch this. What I want to do essentially, and I know we've talked about this, we talked about this in the beginning of the episode, or beginning of the series I should say, is that there are kind of two end games. Let's get down here where it's a little bit quieter, or at least kind of a little bit quieter. Satisfactory technically at this point has a kind of an open-ended, you can just do whatever you want to do with it gameplay kind of thing. So you can do the objective to phase 4 completion. Those 4 things up there, once you complete them and turn them in, will give you a thing that you can then purchase in the awesome shop, which is just basically to say that your factory is capable of producing a certain amount of stuff. And again, like I kind of said with the first 2 on those last 4, there's no reason to try to do this all in one go. Just build it, build around it, do the things that you want to do, have fun with the game, and you know, it is what it is. You just have fun with it. So the other thing that I want to kind of do, and I know this is kind of dumb, but we are going to do it if I can remember where it is we're going to get all of these as well. Now this was the original kind of end game kind of thing that they came up with, was to be able to buy all of the little parts and pieces using what was left of your tickets after you purchased out everything else. And I mean, in here I think we've got a couple of little things, a couple of more little things. You know, we're real close to having the awesome shop bought out. I mean, there's just a couple of little things here and there which we could just go pull out of, well, you know, any one of the other deals, but we don't have any of these. Now this is a ridiculous number. It's fine, it's understandable. We have to figure out how to make that work along with all the rest of these. Customizer, I think I've got everything except all of the parking lot patterns, and some of this I don't really consider as being something important, so we don't necessarily worry about it. No, and this is a point where I will totally 100% disagree with anybody stating that you can go ahead and use these parts. This is expensive for what you're getting for it. Those tickets are ridiculously hard to get at this point in time or stage, and even in the beginning of the game you can craft all of this stuff reasonably quickly and cheaply, aside from this silly little coffee cup that I have yet to buy because it's just a wasted inventory slot. And of course parts, same deal in here. Don't waste your tickets on any of these parts. I don't care, just build the factory to make it work. So with that said, we need to kind of start thinking about figuring out what we're going to do right here. And I have been kind of playing around with that a little bit over the last, well, couple of days. So let's go outside and we'll take a look at some of what we've been doing, or what I did do. And it was namely going to be just kind of trying to reorganize this belt mess that I had all over the place. And now we have a nice big stacked up belt wall that hides all of this wonderful machinery, but at least belts are now reasonably organized throughout most of the base. I moved them over so that they run through the little support sections, and I kind of have to use these stack poles to try to kind of get things organized, but at least belts are now pointed the direction that I want them to go. They're reasonably organized, at least for the most part, and they're heading where they need to go. We are currently using as much of the resources as we can in the factory right now because I kind of went and upgraded the thing that we had built last episode to kind of make a few more parts, and then I have since plugged every other unused manufacturing process, the stuff that at least has the high gain points, into Awesome Sync, so that any excess, as we see right here, will be shunted into an Awesome Sync to be done with it as we need to be done with it. So everything is running. We're even using up all the aluminum casings back here to make a whole bunch of heat sinks, because I figured out we could make quite a few heat sinks if we use the rubber and aluminum casing recipe over the regular recipe with the aluminum plating or outlet sheets, and I think it's plastic. So we're making use of most of what we're building right now. Those are all getting crammed into many different things. And we did rearrange a little bit up here as well. So we used to have a couple of more manufacturers over there building things. Now the only thing that's over there building something is the turbo motor. I moved the supercomputer over to here. The high-speed connectors are right here, and of course the radio control unit has been sitting right there this whole time. So it's just kind of trying to make things a little bit more organized. I had belts everywhere. Yes, there's a little of that. I'm okay with that for now. We'll just deal with it. But again, we have a nice chest full of supercomputers. Everything coming out of this is being shoved over there. This, once it fills its container up with the turbo motors, which I actually need to go grab 2 of those. Thank you very much. Awesome, great, we've got all the parts there, and that will start being shoved into an Awesome Sync as well. And I kind of went nuts with the cooling systems because, well, they're actually pretty good for points. So we're way over producing them by quite a ways. I mean, I need 7 per minute, and I think this makes, 2 of these overproduces that just fine, pretty much. So yeah, well, we have 10 of them now, which required us to make a whole lot more heat sinks, and it's kind of based off the fact right now that we're kind of using a circular device over here where all of the casings that we need to go into the radio control unit manufacturer are being used up first, and then everything else is going into that line. So some of these are not functional, although looks like we backed up over there, and it looks like we're good to go. So it's just kind of math against math. Once this is full and done, then they get shoved into, again, another Awesome Sync so we can make more parts. I did kind of unhook a couple of things over here. I did have, for dumb on my part, I did have the what is this? Where's the button? That button. The electromagnetic control rods going into an Awesome Sync, and then I remembered, hey, we need 400 of them to turn things in today. So let's, after all that wandering around talking, let's go turn in some parts so that we can start talking about what we're going to do for the end game, I think. At least what I'm going to consider end game. So one more time, well, at least one more time, we do have one more after particle enrichment that if we do decide to do nuclear, we're going to worry about. But let's turn in all of that, and then I'm going to run over there, and all of that, and go by.
Milestone reached. The particle accelerator enables previously impossible processes, such as recycling nuclear waste and converting it into plutonium, as well as the generation of exotic matter. A new project part enables progress to the next phase.
Alrighty then, so that should have gotten us the big monster particle accelerator. This thing is massive, and I guess we're gonna go ahead and start thinking about sending some more stuff into some containers so that we have them, but at least now we can kind of play around with some more things. So we did finally get the nuclear pasta, which should be, can I see it please? Can I see it please? Can I see it please? This one? No, this one, right here. That will get us the nuclear pasta, the pressure conversion cube, and all of the fun stuff that goes with the conversion of nuclear waste into something that you can get rid of. Now, this is kind of one of those little things about the whole game that I think is hilarious and yet rather silly, and is reason why we're probably not going to fool with it, mainly because of the fact it's just easy to make fuel. But Thank you, autosave. For those of you that don't know, there is another way of being able to make power, and that is by using nuclear power plants. Nuclear power plants will produce, well, for one, the entire uranium process is a killer. It's a polluter, it's a nasty thing. It makes radiation, it does all kinds of stuff, but it produces a lot of power. It produces quite a bit of power. I mean, every single one of those just flat out stock makes 2,500 megawatts of power compared to the fuel generator that makes 150 megawatts of power. But the thing is, it uses an ungodly amount of power to make all that power. I mean, it takes quite a bit of stuff. You've got to mine up the uranium, you've got to refine the uranium, you've got to build it into other things. It's a long, drawn out process to make the fuel. And then the thing is that, you know, back before they gave us this new process, you had to store all of your nuclear waste somewhere. You couldn't throw it away. You just couldn't get rid of it. Well, now they've decided that they're going to allow us to, you know, using that little process over there we kind of saw. Can I see it? I think I can see it in, where is it? It's an assembler. It's one of these. One of the first steps is right here, I think. No, it's whatever. Let's do this way. We can talk about this real quick because we're probably going to need to do this. Nuclear power plant. Waste. You're not going to show me the waste? Hello. Wait a minute. Plutonium. Plutonium pellets, plutonium cells. I believe the encased cells are these, which is basically opening codex. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Non-fissile uranium, which is basically taking some of your waste and turning it into a usable product called non-fissile uranium. And that waste right here is something that we only get from being able to produce stuff through a generator, one of these, one of the fusion plants or whatever the heck they call the things. You can then take that stuff and convert it into something else that you can then feed into an awesome sink and get rid of it if you so choose. Or you can process it further into plutonium fuel cells that you can then run through those same generators that will then give you a waste you can't get rid of. So again, I would tend to just say that if you're going to play with nuclear, wait until the last row, until that last little bit before you start actually messing with it, because dedicating the entire portion of an entire portion, and I mean an entire portion of the map, somewhere, anywhere, doesn't matter where it is, to the storage and containment of something that will continuously grow in danger is not a good idea. So I would highly suggest you get everything sorted and build the recycling plant so that you can then dump all of that fuel into one of these things, or the waste into one of these things, and you don't have to worry about it. And then you get all kinds of power, which is why we have not touched it, and if we need to, we will touch it. So what I want to talk about, I guess, today is what we're going to probably do for our end game kind of, well, stuff. And it's likely gonna be something to do with what we just got. So let me get that out of the way. I'm gonna come over here and scroll up on this page. Nuclear pasta, what we just got, is a really, really, really good thing. Each one of those nuclear pastas, if I can get this to open up right here, nuclear pasta, there we go. Each one of these is good for about 500,000 points in an awesome sink. Each one. I want to be making somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 3 million points by the time we're done doing all of the process. Part of the thing in here is those things right there, those pressure conversion cubes. Pressure conversion cubes, if we click on that button, they're just something that we've already pretty much got produced, which is radio control units and these things. Well, we're kind of starting to see a little plan here, don't you see? Can we see that some of those things are the same along with some of the other parts? What I think we're going to do, and why I think we're going to do this, is that we're going to need this anyway to finish the game. So I think what I want to do is we're going to look at producing the pressure conversion cubes at a reasonable amount of rate. And the reason I want to mess with those a little bit is because of the fact that that is the jump off point before you have to start making a massive amount of power. in order to fill this thing in a particle accelerator, particle accelerators are really cool, but particle accelerators, they kind of tend to use an ungodly amount of energy, and their energy use is variable. So trying to make, even 2 or 3, like I said, 4 of those a minute would probably require me to go rebuild all of our power production system at this point. So I think what we're going to start working towards, I think we're okay for right now. What we're going to start working towards is ramping up production so that we can build, I'm probably going to say about 8 of those I know it sounds silly, but about 8 of those cubes a minute. Eight of those cubes a minute will make us right around 2 million points in an awesome sync, just by themselves. And the reason why I think we're going to go that direction is because all of the little parts and pieces that go with that, we can continue to keep plugging into an awesome sync, so that by the time we get to the end of it, we may be able to actually just do a little bit of work. So again, this is not an original idea of mine. A lot of people play this. That's how you kind of tend to beat the game. So like I said, we have our starter base that is going to allow us to build a lot of fun stuff. I think the next step is going to be, what are we going to ramp up first that will be usable to us in order to be able to make those things? Well, if we look at it, we can start from 2 directions, and I think the direction I want to start with is the construction and building of these heavy modular frames right here. So they're not that hard. I mean, if you look at it right here, if we want to be making, what did I say, 8 of those a minute, that means we need to have, what is it, 5 of these, 6 of these, which is not too terribly that bad, which again, this is a 1-for-1. So however many of these we need to make, if we want to make 8 of them, then we need to make 8 of them. Or if we want to make 10 of them, we can make 10 of them. We can just kind of ramp this up, which means we need to be making a lot of modular frames, which means we probably need to investigate that bottom recipe. So that bottom recipe is not how we're currently making all of our modular frames in the base. So essentially what I'm trying to get at here is that we need to start ramping up very, very basic stuff, and that is going to include ramping up steel massively. All of these things, all of the frames, all the parts, everything we need to do are going to be made with steel pipe. So steel pipe, again, this is probably going to get really, 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 really boring, but we're going to start branching out into the world. We're going to start building massive structures, I should say massive factories, and I think we're going to start, you might have my map plan, with a gigantic steel factory out here in the green fields. Now, the reason why I'm going to do that is because of the amount of coal that is right here, and all of the iron that lives in this area. We're going to go over there, we're going to scoop it all up, we're going to shove it into a factory that is going to be as an efficient steel production system as we possibly can, and we're going to make as many of those steel pipes as we can. So let's start on that, I guess, today. We'll jump into a train, and then we're going to go over there and we're going to go take a look. And if we can get anything sorted today, I know it's going to be a little bit of maybe a little longer of an episode. I don't know how much more work we're going to try to do today. But technically what I want to start doing is we're going to start breaking that little project down and building gigantic factories around it. So let's go take a ride. Alrighty, so we're back over here in the world of where some of you probably have started your games at least one point in time or the other, at least where we all decide to start at least one time. The Green Fields area. This is, I will say, a pretty good place to start the game, mainly because of the fact there's a lot of very early game resources readily available to you in a fairly wide open environment with reasonably few enemies, at least some of them that can swim. I mean, I guess he's over there, some of them that he can't swim. What you're going to find, and I've said it several times, though, what you're going to find in this area is that the sizes of the nodes, even once you get to a point where you can actually kind of just, upgrade miners in place, they still kind of suck because you really don't have a lot of production out here, and you don't have a lot of that. So, oil production, refineries, anything that takes a lot of water, well, it's not a good place because there's not a whole lot of water in this area. So why are we over here? Why did I say that I was going to build steel over here? Well, steel needs a lot of iron, lots and lots and lots and lots of that stuff. So let's do this. Just in view of us right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, mostly. I believe there's actually more than that. I think there's what is it, like three or four right here. There's 3 or 4 right there. There's 2 right over there. I think there's 9 or 7 or something right over there. There's more iron down over in that area, and I believe there's even more over there that it didn't register. So there's a bunch right there and a bunch right there, and just this whole area is covered, and I mean covered in iron. It's also covered in limestone. Should go ding another time. I think there's one over there. Yeah, okay. So we're looking at the one right below us. There's one above us, and I think there's another one right there. And there's a bunch over there, and there's a bunch over back there, and then there's stuff back over here. And again, as always, what you need to make steel, there's a little further away. Come on. Ding, ding. Okay, so there's the first one over there, and then dinging that direction. So there's some over there. There's some on top of a rock way over there. There's some over there. And then there are 3. Yeah, coal. And then there are 4 fairly large nodes down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to base the entirety of the production of what we're going to be shoving into a awesome sink off of the least available material that we're going to get in this area, which is going to be the coal. So we may end up making quite a lot of stuff in this area because of the amount of the available iron and copper that we get. And there is a little bit of caterium over there. So we are going to need to be able to make radio control units and a few other things. I have an idea for all that kind of stuff, but basically the basics need to happen first. And the first happen thing that we need to do is we need to take some of this limestone and turn it into concrete, because I have to have all kinds of concrete to be able to build flat spots out here, because it looks flat, it's not flat. So one of the things we are going to make use of is this teeny tiny little puddle of water right here. This teeny tiny puddle of water, I believe if we're fairly careful, nope, hit the right button. Let's see, I need that back up, and I want you, if you're incredibly careful, 4, 5, let them all build in. And then with a little bit of ugly jankiness, we may have a little bit of clipping going on with this one, but you can get a reasonable amount of water. Let go of the thing. Thank you very much. You can get a reasonable amount of water out of this puddle if you're careful. I actually need to back these up because I should be able to get one right about there. But again, 1. Where'd you go? 2. Oh, creature's in the way. 3. And I think I can get one more over there somewhere. So we do have the availability of a small amount of water. Yes, this doesn't look really very great. I know, I understand. There is another puddle over there somewhere behind those copper nodes. And we have the entirety of the lake behind us over there, as well as a lake over here. So what little bit of water we might need, we have access to. And the reason why I want to say water is because we're going to build, or at least we're going to start with some refineries, probably right about like that, or however many we can make. Oh, and I guess while we're here, let's scroll to here, bring some power down. We're going to make use of the recipe that we have not used yet, which is the wet concrete recipe. And I opened a thing while I was flying, and now I don't have my access. Thank you. Yep, you're broke. Open the thing. Come on, fly. I hate that bug so much. Okay, I think we got it sorted now. Anyhow, we're going to use the wet concrete, which is wet concrete recipe, which is going to need about 100 water per minute, but it is going to make an ungodly amount of concrete for us, at least for the majority of the time. So we'll probably have to get a whole lot more water in here, but for right now, all I want to do is build a miner on that and get it to be producing stuff for us. Oh, no, don't do that. Where is your... Put this thing on so you don't kill yourself. Hi. Goodbye. All right, so in order to make this work, we're going to do two things. Well, we're going to do this. We need to make... No, let go. Go away. I want this, and we need 3 of those. I think I have the space for it. And we're going to put 1 of these boys right here. This is an impure concrete node. It is going to make 120 limestone per minute, except for when I do that to it, and it's going to make a 300 belt, which is amazing. Now, a 300 belt again, there'll be another 300 belt coming off of that. There'll be another 300 belt coming off of the other one, but for right now, all I want to do is just turn this on and have it start making concrete for us so that we have some semblance of a platform to mess with. So 300 means we get to do 3 of these. So 1, 2, 3. And let's just, I'm not even going to build it nice. I'm just going to build it on the ground, just kind of like this right now, just so that we can kind of get some of this working. So where is my 300 belt? That one. Let me see. 9. Will you? 9. 9. This is going to look kind of ugly, but whatever. Why is this not working? Because it's not on. Awesome. Okay, do it. 9. Yeah, I'll knock this out. We'll get with the next pint. All right, power. This is going to be the epitome of ugly, as always, but we need to have some we need to have some stuff to be able to make things work. This is not going to be running as fully as it could be, and it doesn't really matter to me because right now what we need to do is we need to make us some concrete, so in the next episode we can start throwing down some stuff. And actually what I will probably do is I will have most of the general idea of what I want done out here and designed, and likely put a bunch of stuff down on these nodes that are all over the place. But give me some of that, my friends. Impure limestone at 300 per minute. Love it. Awesome. And I understand I kind of did the math wrong. I need 300 water. We need a little bit more limestone, which is fine. If nothing else, I'll just go grab a little bit more. But that's going to be the basic idea of what we're going to do. So I'm going to go jump out over here real quick. We're going to go take a look at it, and we can call it so I can at least get this thing sorted. Again, what will happen out here, very, very likely, ooh, is a nice little yellow slug we can go grab. Very likely what we're going to be doing is we're going to be building up off the ground a reasonable height so that we can catch most of everything, just get it all buried underneath of it. We might be using some trucks to move some stuff just because it is very flat out here, and it's really kind of a nice area to do trucks. And basically, we're going to try to make use of every single node that's out here, even the copper, even the anything else that's out here that we may or may not want to use. I have a total feeling that we're probably going to build heavy modular frames out here, if we can. If we can build all of the entirety of the heavy modular frames using, I think it's going to be this recipe right here. This is actually the least use of certain materials like iron down here for the most amount of stuff. I know this one is 3.5 per minute. This has the least amount of materials as far as iron goes. Plus, it takes a little bit of a very useful thing. And now that we have the ability to be able to make concrete with water, we make a lot of concrete with a little teeny tiny amount of limestone that's out here. So that's where we're going to go. I think very soon we're going to start a massive steel production facility being built out in this area. And by the time we're done with it, hopefully in the episode or two, I'm not going to drag these out. I'm not going to drag these out. We're going to make pinpoint spots of how this stuff is going to work, what recipes we're going to use, what we're going to do, and then I'm going to build it off camera and then come back and bring you guys back to see what we do. So hopefully by the end of next episode, we will have all of the steel pipes and the IC, well, the industrial, encased industrial beams that we're going to need in order to be able to make all of those heavy modular frames, which means after that, we'll have to start making all the other modular frames, but fun times will be had, and we're going to start moving forward with that. So until then, well, it's the green fields. Finally. Hello, Moth. How are you? I will see you all in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.